Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast, the occasional podcast, which we keep going. Got Caroline with me today and Judy in Canada. We've just had a bit of a precursor, things happening in our lives. Judy's had a post on LinkedIn that went crazy, 1.5 million hits, and a few middle-aged gentlemen being negative. I managed to slip a comment in to try to embarrass someone. I don't know if I achieved what I intended, but we've just had a discussion about stuff that is, like Judy's just said, about this, and that it's largely or predominantly men who put people down and don't like to be to feel unsafe in their professional positions, and like to feel important. And I've seen that so many times in my career doing this. I've had it to my face in social gatherings, in industry sessions. I mentioned it a while back about when a male luminary, shall we say, accused me of dumbing down ELT by actually helping people to speak, which is kind of spectacular in that sense. And Caroline suggested we carry on with talking about context, because we had Caprice on last time, Caprice, who runs the English Out There summer school in London. And that was really good. I think that was Caroline. Was that interesting, talking to Caprice and listening to Caprice?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. It was really good. It was a really nice conversation. I enjoyed it, and yeah.
Did you learn anything?
Well, I certainly learned how it can be done in a different context from mine, and how it works perfectly well, if not better. And how it takes a lot of organizing to do it, though, especially when you have groups and you sometimes feel like you're herding cats, but
yes,
they sort of tend to wander off. But yeah, I think
that's
the result
that's what gets the teachers. Like when we recruit teachers, normally they've got CELTA, Delta, whatever, and they kind of come in going, oh yes, this is yeah, great, let's do this, and then we have to train them in how to do it outside, because their training and everything, their careers, their experiences is four walls, i.e. a classroom, and it's a real leap for some of them to be doing stuff in public spaces, and also getting, facilitating or helping people speak to members of the public. It's a whole different ball game, but they end up usually really, really enjoying it, because it's like setting them free. It's like having a load of goats and opening the gate and letting them get out.
You said it without saying it. It's unlearning. There's so much unlearning.
Yeah.
And unlearning wasn't a word 10 years ago. It was an unword. And now it's an actual word, and people are mindfully unlearning and cleaning out all the crap that they had to.
But wasn't it Illich who was it Illich wrote, or was it Paulo Freire, Deschooling Society?
In my mastermind group, a couple of the women who participated, and even some of the men, constantly apologizing for not having a degree. Meanwhile, they're the most successful because they're unencumbered by the crap that all the rest of us had to let go of. And we're going, stop apologizing. Your record speaks for itself. You're wildly successful teaching English, developing your own systems, right? But there it is, the culture and the shame. I don't have a degree. Like, I don't have a voice. Are you kidding me? You don't have to detox. You don't have a degree.
I think, I don't know if it's still in place, but I seem to recall that you had to have a degree to do a CELTA. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, you have to be poisoned to step into more poison. So you meet somebody with a PhD, they're toxified as they can possibly get, and irrelevant. You can't even listen to them. They're so narrow and exclusive and poisoned.
So what's happening now, do you think? With
Well,
the
your guys
internet,
like
AI, it's like,
yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I just
the
talked to
people
you
who
about my planning thing, with my
yeah.
project at the moment, and that legal precedent I found it through the use of AI. No, I would never have found it,
The use of AI is a much more important tool in this century than stuffing them with information that they already have at hand in their phone. Like, we're actually irrelevant as deliverers of often misinformation. We can get that from our phone now, and kids can get it from their phone. We have no job. We have no job. I keep calling us harness makers. We're just really, really. It doesn't matter how great a harness maker you are.
But that's the thing, is that, because I just told you that this guy in Pakistan who runs these massive Facebook groups for learners to practice is trying to get me to teach someone in China 1-to-1 so he can have a cut.
Yeah.
And
so he's a businessman. He's an operator. He's
no,
not an educator.
I know, but he's conditioned. He's conditioned by this whole thing to think that there is only one way to skin a cat, i.e., teach English, or to help someone to improve their English speaking skills. So it's like, all those guys on your post dissing it, discrediting you, are they created this guy in Pakistan who can't see the wood for the trees.
Yes, but I want to give it some context. The vast majority of men and comments were positive. So the missing part is they were 10%.
Right.
Because it was a huge sample. There was 1,000 comments. 10% were negative and disempowering and personal and like that. And
what positions did they have? Did you check out any of them, like their backgrounds or their?
Yes. It's just like you said. They're educated. They're indoctrinated. So their minds are closed. They're just defensive. They're very. This is the way we've always done it, and anything else is ridiculous. A lot of them were American. When was the last time they put somebody on the moon? And when was the last time they were scared to send their kid to school? They'd be shot. Like, you can't take a little piece that you like out of your history and pretend that's your history. But that's what we do, the customizing of reality. So there were only 10% of the comments. 90%.
We should say what the post was about.
Oh, it was about education in Finland versus education in North America. And they were both called teachers. We say we identify as teachers and we're trained as teachers, and they're identified as teachers, although they go to a lot more school, and they're neither one, in fact, are teachers. So in North America, we're indoctrinators, and in Finland, they're facilitators. So the misnomer, and we can do a whole thing on misnomer.
Exactly, but
none of us are teaching anybody anything.
This is the thing. For many years, I've balked at using the term teacher for myself or people who work with me.
I can't use it. Yep.
I can't use it. It kind of sticks in my throat, And this guy in Pakistan understands the word teacher, and that teachers do this, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like, oh God, it drives me bonkers. Like, you know, you
Me
can't
too.
you can't help
Fallacy.
people unlearn.
No,
Like they
no, it's
have to be willing,
capitalizing on a
they
scam.
have to be willing to open their mind and kind of accept what possibly to them is, you know, a parallel universe exists in terms of cognition
Whoa.
and acquisition and stuff like that.
It's a narrative. We can't change our narratives. And I just watched a thing on this morning, and I'm going to post it. So our narratives are built from shame and fear, which is how our school is run. Sit down, shut up, think what I tell you to think. So the narrative is almost impossible to break. We customize our narrative around managing our fear and shame. So that's why facts don't change people's minds and don't change people's behavior. So, you know, anybody listening is not going to change. Anybody scrolling through Facebook or anything is not going to change. And it's given by the fear and shame we got in school. So how do you change the fear and shame machine? That's where we're at. And 90% of people, if 1,000 is it was a volunteer. Nobody had to contribute. Nobody signed up for an experiment. It was all voluntary contributions, which I think makes it really, really valid. So 90% of people want the indoctrination machine to stop. And they're looking for answers. So you should be rich soon. Because you got them.
I doubt it. I think you're more optimistic than I am. I think it's so deeply embedded that
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Here's my other reason for optimism.
Go on.
Other countries are getting it, and America hates to be last. So they're only whatever there are. There's the people who love to be first and camp out on the street for the next iPhone, and there's the people that hate to be last. America hates to be last, and the internet has exposed her as way, way behind, and they hate that. So,
but you know, the crashing irony of all of this, and I think so. I read something a few years ago that kind of pointed this out, is that we have this machine that drives everyone to formal high stakes qualifications, degrees, blah, 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 you know, going into which in our field goes into CELTAs and TESOL certificates and all of that. And yet the people who are venerated at the very top, the richest people, like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, you know, these massive entrepreneurial tech gods, inverted commas, are championed and venerated for having dropped out of university.
Steve Jobs, like the list goes on and on.
Steve Jobs, the list is like so the evidence of free thinking, creative thought, you know, is not aligned with people who've been in the system.
No.
It's aligned with people who have rejected the system.
Yes. Well, we're circling back, and Caroline, I'm sorry if I've hijacked this.
Okay.
We said John Clifton before. So 50 years ago in the 70s, he did massive tests. And it's not the A students that excel in life. It's the C students. And the A students work for the C students. So we've known it. So we've circled back to knowing that we're not doing it right doesn't change anything. So it's not going to change. Politicians aren't going to change it. Administration isn't going to change it. Parents aren't going to change it. We have to change it. Educators, facilitators. Yeah, we have to change it. It's us.
It's a powerful machine, though. You know, I've brushed up against it a few times, as you know. and it's kind of all the people, the so-called high-ranking bureaucrats who run the thing, basically. And I think this happens in most commercial activities or industries, is that the people at the top got there by towing the line and kissing the right asses, to put it bluntly. And so their whole belief in themselves, or understanding of themselves, their impression of themselves, and their power, which you mentioned, and their security, is based on maintaining the status quo.
Yep.
So they will try to stamp on anything, because primarily they've only worked to further their own interests.
Yes.
Not the interests of the rank and file.
Fear. There's not enough for me. There's not enough for me. There's not enough for me.
Yeah.
You can't even pry taxes out of these guys. The hoarders of wealth. You're just going crazy. Whatever. Anyway, yes.
Right. So, Caroline, come on. What's going through your head?
Well, it's interesting what you're saying. It's education and the system as a whole. It's not limited to what you were talking about. Is absolutely not limited to teaching English as a foreign language.
No.
It's much bigger than that. And yeah, it would be quite something to see the system change. And I can see that it's unlikely if you attack them at the top, because they are in their strongholds. And like Judy was saying before, importance. They feel important. They want to feel important. And it's everywhere, and it's everybody. And people at the lower levels are afraid of even trying to change, because that maybe their children will be the ones to be seen as the odd ones out, and things like that. Which I think you know something about yourself.
Yeah.
How is this a reflection on me? I have a weird child, or a child who's a failure, or whatever. So in Finland, if they take both those elements away, and everyone feels safe, and everyone feels important all the time, then what's available? So that's what they get from school, and they're not coincidentally, or not inconsequent. They're the happiest. The Nordic countries are consistently ranked.
Not
by themselves, like internationally. They don't even subscribe to PISA and all that stuff, and that PISA score is all coming to bits now.
Do they not subscribe? Don't play with PISA then?
No, they don't care. They're not given by that.
Great.
But when PISA evaluates them, they're at the highest. But they're not going for their PISA score.
Right.
And it is stupid. But
that's the massive. That's such a. I mean, like to me, in a microcosm, I see bringing like sort of English language teaching into it, and my experience of the industry, inverted commas. I see because English language teaching is a kind of an enormous global enterprise.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't understand how big it is. I over the years I've looked at different reports and research and market data and stuff like that, and the last one I can remember was something like English language learning is worth something like 50 billion a year. Yeah. I mean, just astonishing. And to be constrained by that system when we know that it doesn't work, to maintain the system from the top, to restrict people's access to the right kind of help, is a metaphor for it's I don't know if metaphor is the right word, but it's illustrative of the way education is moribund, completely moribund, and counterproductive in terms of the potential of human beings. You know, it's
irony.
it's designed limitation.
Yes.
So it's I mean, that's, yeah, you both know it's bugged me for years and years, and this is why, you know, for quite a few years I kind of just gave up, because it's just like, oh, what's the point, you know? That's why I admire you, Judy, because
Very Atlas shrugged.
you keep going, and you keep rattling cages. You know, it's and Caroline, you know, like Caroline prodding me out of semi-retirement, you know, because she found English out there and realized it worked really well, and then wanted to know a bit more, so engaged me and prodded me to kind of engage with her. It's I feel like, you know, there's this mountain, and we're still right at the bottom, and I don't know how to influence people.
We're partway up. We're well
Halfway
up. We
up.
got a good view. Got a good view. We can see all around. I'm going back to the man thing. So you have restrictions that I don't have. This is the other side. So I have complete freedom to make money or not make money, or make my mark, or, you know, put on some makeup and marry somebody rich. This is what we're socialized to do. You know, I went to school in the 60s and 70s. There wasn't even any point me going to university. I went, but you know, there was that conversation, and I had great marks, and I was academic as heck. And they go, "What's the point of her going to university? This is my parents. This is my parents."
Did they say
you
that?
know? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah,
Really?
clean yourself up. You don't have to work.
Clean yourself up. Was that a phrase that was used?
This is my mother talking to me. Yeah, you just have to marry somebody rich. That's the highest and best you can do with your life. So, but you have to provide. So I can break off. I have lots of money. So I'm free to rattle cages and get rejected and kicked out of groups, and it doesn't affect me at all. I don't care. But you know, you have to make a living, and you have to provide, and you have to toe the line. So that's the other side of patriarchy. Didn't work for anybody. Didn't work for me, sweetheart. Get me a cup of coffee. You know, and I got the blonde thing. Like, their expectations of me have always been extremely low. So I can get in under the radar. They expect nothing. It's so funny. It's the hand I was dealt. But they expect a lot of you, like a lot, right? So I'm not a man basher. I love men, and I don't know.
I mean, I've always found it kind of weird, you know, kind of dealing with bureaucrats. I'm not very good at it. You know, I think that's my psychological makeup. You know,
You're too intelligent.
I've never really enjoyed, you know, the game of euphemistic language. You know, yes. I don't understand it. I think, you know, that's because of my brain. But I mean, anyway. I take your point about, you know, I have had to, you know, it's been my job. It has been my livelihood, and it's taken massive hits.
Yes,
at various stages, and the hits have always coincided with me sticking my neck a little too far out.
Yeah,
you know? And sticking by my guns, and just
I watched it
and calling it out. You know.
Yeah. No, it's a stupid system. It's coming down, and the internet brought it down, and it's finished. Teachers have no more jobs. You know, they're not real jobs. Now they're babysitting. They're screaming. So
here we go. Like in my head, right, which is a strange place. We know that. I am slightly obsessed with these guys with these massive Facebook groups, right? Because they've created a 1 million person community of people who are desperate to learn to speak English, but they're all doing it the wrong way.
Yep.
How, if in my mind, I'm thinking, if we can get a foothold in one of these places and prove it to a lot of people, that could get the ball rolling.
Yep.
In terms of English language learning, speaking globally, because these groups have people from all over the world. But for the life of me, firstly, I can't get through to the guys running them because they're still stuck in that paradigm of teacher, teacher, teacher. And
they're
secondly,
marketers.
it's
not
like
educators. They're marketers.
No, I know.
They're not educators. Yeah.
But marketers, I've seen this. So like Caroline, you know about the teacher who bought some materials the other week, who's in Greece. She's a life coach who's doing some teaching in Greece, and had a really good chat with her. And you know, she was asking me about EOT, and I was telling her, well, you could do this, do that way. And you know, she's oh God, what was I going to say? I've lost it now.
Well, I spoke to her too anyway.
Have you spoken to her?
Yeah.
How was she? Was she all right? Did she get it?
Yeah.
Because, you know, this is kind of like the real, the putative stuff, because she agreed. She'd been through formal education, university, higher degree, blah, blah, blah. And she, like you, Caroline, had done, you know, formal teaching, English teaching qualification, blah, 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 and come to the conclusion it didn't work. Yeah. And that's when she found my stuff. And it's like, but in my head, I'm like, okay, we've got me, Caroline, Caprice, this other lady in Greece. You know, it's like, how do we get that knowledge and experience of how to make it work to all of these people who desperately want to make it work, but are constrained by the convention and the marketers. I know what I was going to say. The marketers, you see, like, and I was talking to her about this, and I said, you know, I'm pretty pessimistic. She was going, no, but she thought it was changing, and there were, you know, their apps, you know, and stuff like that for language learning. And I said, yeah, there are, you know, Duolingo doesn't teach you to speak, it's grammar heavy, blah, 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 blah. And I said, but, you know, in my experience over the last, God knows how many years, like 10, 15 years, I've had conversations with different people who've launched different language learning / practice apps, right? And it's kind of fascinating, this, because the people who come from a conventional ELT language teaching background created apps and online experiences that were supported by conventional materials based on conventional methodology, right? The other apps were created by techies, right? And marketing guys. And a few years ago, I can't remember there's one that's still going, that grew, that started out as an app to connect people for language practice. Two guys, Google engineers, right, in California, and it was to connect people to have practice. And I love this bit. You know, it makes me sound a bit of a wanker, but at the start, I said to them, "Oh, brilliant!" And I had a chat with this guy. Great to meet you, lovely. You know, I love what you're doing. You know, connecting people. And he was like, "Oh, great, thank you very much. Yeah, it's great software." Blah, blah, blah. And I said, "Oh, what? One thing you might need a little bit of content to help them study some language, just to refresh their memory before they have the conversations." Oh no, man, we don't think anyone needs any content. We're not interested in content. We're just interested in bringing people together. And I thought, oh. A year and a half later, they're still going. But I saw that they've changed slightly, and they started bringing teachers in to do groups online. Okay, so they were reverting to type. And I sent this guy a message going, oh, I've noticed, I've been following you. I've noticed that you've started doing this. And I said, God, I love it. I said, have you had a problem with drop-offs? Drop-offs is a term in tech, which is where people just give up and fuck off, right? And he wrote back really fast. How did you know? And I said, because I told you a year and a half ago that people need preparation before they practice speaking. That's why I could assume quite safely, and you confirmed it, that you get loads of drop-offs. You need some content. I have the content. Didn't get back to me. Boom. There you go. So it's a lot of stuff. The techie guys, the clever techie guys who create these things, don't believe in content. So and then on the other side, it's just loads of the same old stuff, but shoehorned into an online experience. Boom.
Yes. I used to get asked a lot, and it's actually less and less lately, people asking me to look at they've really just digitized garbage, but look at the app I made.
Yeah.
So they make people talk English how nobody really talks with avatars. And that breaks my heart. And I say, I can see how much work and probably money that you've put into
yes.
this. But what so is, it's lipstick on a pig. You didn't change the content.
I love that phrase. Yeah, I do.
You didn't fix anything. You made a gimmicky. That's it. But the content is actually garbage.
So does that mean like any bright technology guy who's thinking of doing this, like, get in touch? We can help. we can show you how it's done, and you just create the structure to bring it together. It's like it's not difficult. Just put your faith in someone who's done it, and don't listen to the publishers and the other people who are from the dark side.
Yeah. The capitalists, the exploiters. Yeah,
it's quite amazing.
I think that party's over. I think that generation's dying off. They're nearly dead.
Well, we're all dying. I just want to inform you.
Yeah, but they're dying with all the power, all the money, and all the voice. The world's not going to get better till the Trumps are dead.
Well, we're kind of at a. Feels like we're heading to a bit of a crossroads at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We really are. It's we got a select bunch of lunatics in charge of different countries, and their egos know no bounds.
But there's transparency now that there's never been before. And I just learned today why transparency doesn't really change anybody's mind. So at school, we have to change school. That's my thing. I'm going to change school.
Yeah. Absolutely.
For everybody, girls and boys, it's toxic. Not working. And it's not even a secret anymore.
How was your chat? Do you think she's going to be okay? Sorry, Judy. Do you think she's going to be okay?
Yeah, I think she is, because she's starting out. She's got, as she said, her own income from other activities. She can afford to take it as it comes,
right,
and develop it as just pretty much from the bottom up, like exactly what I do. You meet people because they look for you, they need you, and you can offer something special. And I told her more or less my experience of how I got familiar with it. So she will do something similar. And once she's comfortable with it, she'll be able to pass that on to other people very easily and just spread the word like that. So
cool.
yeah,
Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that.
It's great for me as well, because it's nice to know that there's somebody. She's Australian.
Yeah.
And it's nice to know there's somebody else around who's doing exactly what I'm doing, exactly the same way. We're working from the bottom up. I'm just really very, very happy to be able to give something solid and valid to people, and feel like gratified that I can do that and not waste my time with material that doesn't, serve any purpose.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good. She's a good person to have on board.
She is. I really liked her. I think, and she's smart. She's like, she gets it,
Mm-hmm. She's going to listen to this.
She probably is. She was listening to the other ones. So, we like you. We like you. Tell your friends.
But Caroline, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's, do you want to make a difference, or do you want to make money? So if you can make a difference making money.
Well, yeah, it's definitely better.
Instead of just
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I've always done. I've always been on the, I'd rather be effective than just make money. That's what I was like when I started English out there in 2001. I could have opened, like, a bog standard English school, got British Council accreditation. I could have been a very wealthy man with a school in central London, boom, boom, boom. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. It was impossible. Like, it was like, oh, let's go the hard way,
That was a common thread in the mastermind group. And actually, we're not that group, but a new mastermind group is forming for education in general. But my English teaching mastermind group is joined by everyone having an epiphany. So even when they sensed all this grammar isn't making a difference or empowering anybody or affecting their ability to use the language, when they had a solution, they could never go back. None of them could ever go back and just barf junk at students.
Yeah.
Yes. And and they were all the epiphanies were patterns. Oh my God, this is always true, whether it's the word stress thing or it doesn't matter. Rita Baker and her triangles. This is how children's brains, 2-year-olds' brains, manage grammar structures perfectly.
Maybe we appeal
when you're 2 with no instruction. You can do it, and 15 years of English education, you can't do it. So she's like, what is the 2-year-old doing that we're not doing in school? And then when she got it, she's like, oh my God, that's what you do. And then she did get very wealthy.
Teachers tend to pride themselves on their integrity as human beings. Do you think that?
Yes. And I just take a machine gun to their posts.
Once you can't go back. Once the penny drops.
Yeah. Shoot.
So maybe that's a line of attack's the wrong word, getting messages out there.
Intellectual prostitution. When and you've chosen it for money, you're just feeding students garbage in order to feed your students food. That's prostitution. You're not making a difference and you can't quit. So on how many people can process and accept that? When they do, they quit teaching, and they're quitting teaching in droves.
Lots of people are quitting teaching. Yeah. I know that.
Because of the integrity. If you have integrity, you can't do it.
So we need a campaign with, get your integrity back.
It's alignment. It's alignment. Because they didn't sign up to screw up kids and to hurt students and to not be successful. Nobody signed up for that.
No one did.
They do it with their whole heart.
Yeah.
They really care and they work hard. And I don't know what the percentage is, but a vast majority just keep hammering away at that. But a smaller percentage go, you know what, this isn't working. You know what, it's hurting kids, and I'm part of that. All teachers think they're great teachers, but what so is great teachers an oxymoron? There is no such thing. I'm a great teacher. My students love me, and one of them told me last year I made a difference in their lives. You go, yeah, 40% of them still can't read. There's no such thing as great teachers. It's a figment of your imagination. It's about It's
we could
great
start a campaign.
indoctrinated.
We should start a campaign to have the word teacher removed from the English Oxford Dictionary.
And because it used to mean to show, but when the Prussians turned it into tell people what to think, so they changed the definition without changing the word. So we actually think we're teaching. We're that dumb, but we're not, and we can't.
Teaching doesn't exist.
No,
in my mind.
No. Or the hardcore say, oh yeah, I facilitate as well, and you go, yeah, no, you don't. You're one or the other because they're opposite. Yeah, no, I do it all. You go, no, you don't. You're delusional.
I think we'll leave it on the word delusional, shall we?
All right.
Today's word for the day is delusional in educational terms.
Yeah.